Once upon a time, in a sunny town in Africa, there was a woman named Amina. She was 30 years old and very kind-hearted. But Amina's problem was finding the right relationship, because each relationship she gets in always ends up disappointing. She has trouble finding the right person to marry. Every time she thought she has found love, it doesn't last. Her friends begin to make mockery of her because she was the only girl in her age mates that were still single, while others have gotten married. Amina felt sad and alone. She prayed every day for God to send her a good husband, but it seems God was not answering her prayers. The more her friends teased her, the more she felt like she might never find someone to love. She might never find someone who will genuinely love her. One day, Amina felt so sad and tired of being alone that she thought about giving up. Her friend's mockery hurt her feelings so much that she didn't know what to do. She stood on a bridge one certain day and looked down at the water, thinking maybe it would be better to end everything. Tears filled her eyes as she thought about how unfair life seemed to her. But as she was about to make a big mistake to jump into the river, a stranger noticed her and asked her if she was okay. His name was Ibrahim, and he was so kind and caring. He listened to her and made her feel like she wasn't alone in her sadness. Ibrahim and Amina became friends. He lived far away in another country, but visited her sometimes for work. They talked a lot and shared their stories. Amina realized she wasn't the only one who felt lonely sometimes. Slowly, their friendship turned into something more. Ibrahim showed Amina that love could come when you least expect it. He proposed to her and she said yes with a heart full of hope. On their wedding day, Amina felt like the happiest person in the world. Her friends who used to make mockery of her now cheered for her and Ibrahim. They saw how happy she was and apologized for not understanding her feelings before. Ibrahim and Amina traveled out together to his own country. Amina realized that Ibrahim was not only just loving, but he was very successful and took care of her with love. Amina realized that God had a plan for her all along. Amina realized that all the people who has rejected her in the past, that God has a reason for her. Amina then realized that her future was better than the past she wished she had. Amina realized that even when she thought God was not hearing her prayers, that God had a big plan for her all along, even when things seemed hopeless. Her story taught her friends a valuable lesson about kindness and understanding. Her friends who mocked her in the past started asking her and begging her to take their children to oversee. Amina's heart was full of joy as she helped her friends who had rushed into marriages that didn't work out. She now knows that true happiness comes from patience and believing that what God has for you in future is better than the past, and that better days are always ahead. The moral of this story is never give up. God sees your efforts. God hears your prayers. He is preparing the best for you. Remember, when God decides to honor a man, He makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. Put your trust in God and never ever give up.